Inky, thank you for the opportunity to tell your FVR story to us. Ano. Well, how did how did you get involved? I suppose the connection was with no to FDR was through Subic.
The connection was through Subic, but I've always known who FVR was because when he was still a general, he was my father's poker buddy.
Oh, okay.
They would play poker together with my dad.
So you knew each other even before before officially being part of his team.
Well, that personally, I knew of him because my dad would always speak of him, always with fondness. No, he's always liked President FVR. So I knew of him. I knew of him from a distance. Little did I know that one day I would be working with him in promoting Subic and the country.
Well, tell me your first impressions then of how did your dad call him? Eddie.
Oh, well, he said that he was
Or
a
general.
very funny guy, witty guy, very nice, very kind, always cracking jokes while they were playing. You know, so he was really a good guy, according to my dad. And I guess that's why when when the EDSA revolution happened, we were happy to know that he was one of the players, the major players in converting the government or taking the government back and giving it to the people.
So that was just really the connection. The real interaction happened, I suppose, when you joined Team Subic.
Yes, that's when it really all started. No? President Ramos had just appointed, when he became president, just appointed now Senator Dick Gordon, who was a mayor of Olongapo at the time, to the position of chairman and administrator. And at the time when he was appointed, I was still in the private sector. So I was a volunteer. I would go to Subic every weekend, to Olongapo and Subic to help out. I had not joined Subic full-time at that time.
Volunteer, but let me try to get you there. You were just really setting aside spare time, really,
yes.
to help out. Was there any expectation that you would eventually join, be part of the team, or no, this is just really a weekend thing, and I'll go my way.
Well, I had an affiliation with Subic. I had a connection because it was Senator Gordon and I who drafted the law that created the free port. And we were the one that lobbied in the Senate, together with the people of Olongapo, Ninang Kate Gordon. At that time, she was a congresswoman.
Okay. November 92, the USS Bellawood.
Bellawood left, yes.
Sails out of Subic Bay, ending what? Close to 100 years of no?
That's right. Actually, I think it's 98 years.
Yes, yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, 94 years. That's why
Military,
Senator Gordon had the flag, the flag staff in front of, in Waterfront Road, in front of the headquarters. It was 94 feet, representing the 94 years that the Americans were in Subic.
The military presence in Subic.
That's right.
Okay. Why, share with us, why was it important to FDR and his administration to get that particular military, U.S. military facility back on its feet?
Well, it was important to the president, FVR, and to Senator Gordon because, Olongapo and the neighboring areas were dependent economically on the bases. And then all of a sudden they left.
Yeah.
And there had to be an alternative. And at that time, we were also competing with major Asian countries. And FVR's vision at that time, I think it was 2000, no?
The Philippines 2000.
2000, Philippines 2000, to make it a tiger economy. So the key to trying to achieve that was to come up with economic zones and enclaves to attract investments. And that's why it's so important to FVR, per my recollection. And of course to Senator Dick, because immediately he had to provide jobs for his people who lost their jobs.
There's tens of thousands of
That's right.
workers, volunteers na lang.
Who left their jobs. And what Senator Gordon did was he inveigled the the former base workers, even the vendors, jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers, anybody who had menial jobs to volunteer to protect the base. So that we won't be like what happened to Clark. No? Clark was looted after Pinatubo destroyed it. This time, Senator Gordon at that time wanted to make sure that the volunteers would preserve and protect the facilities so that investors would come in.
Yeah, there you are. I was going to ask you, where was Subic at the time of, at the onset of FVR's administration? It had just weathered, what, Pinatubo's eruption. And then a few years back, it also suffered some damage because of the earthquake. No?
Yes, right.
That one. But tell me, in your own words.
Well, at that time, Subic had recovered. So had Olongapo, because of the teamwork between the leadership and the people. They were able to clean it up. And at the time, I don't think the Americans really wanted to leave Subic, but because of the Senate's rejection of the RP U.S. Bases Treaty, they were forced to. So Subic was in a healthy situation. I mean, $8 billion worth of infrastructure was there. So many houses, dockyards, ship repair facilities, the airport. It was a total city, if you will, no? Which could immediately,
within the city.
That's right, which could immediately be utilized for economic purposes for the country. So it was still in a good situation.
But that was the risk, I mean, if and when the Americans left and things were left on their own, I mean, chaos being the worst that can happen, it could have gone a different way.
Yeah, that's why at that time Senator Gordon wanted to make sure that nothing would be stolen so that he could impress investors to come in. Imagine you'll tell them, these are our people, they're volunteering to make sure these premises are preserved. Imagine what they can do for you if you employ them. So that was like the underlying philosophy behind asking the volunteers to render services. And President FVR approved this 100%.
It was totally behind you guys. Tell me now, the shared interest, the commonality of interests of the Subic team at that time and FBR. Were they running parallel with each other? Was Philippines 2000 a parallel vision for Subic as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we made sure it was embedded in our hearts, from the top leadership, FVR, to Senator Gordon, to us. We were, on all fours with President FVR at that time to help Philippines 2000 happen. And he had a vision as a leader of the country at that time. It was kind of refreshing because he had a vision for the country. And then our leader, Senator Gordon, at that time also had a vision. He thought of Subic way back in 1972 when he was the youngest member of the CONCON. And then he came up with a plan in 1980. And it was this plan that he presented to President Ramos, which of course was refined by that time because it was already a law. And he took it and he flew with it, and President Ramos supported us all the way.
But Subic was also an experiment, if you'll agree with that observation. It was the first experiment into Freeport.
Correct.
Freeport Authority, a Freeport zone, and really, I mean, there were economic zones, there were Freeports much before Subic was done, but in the scale of it.
Well, Subic was actually the first Freeport. The other economic zones you were mentioning were export processing zones, whereby you take in raw materials, you process them, and you re-export them. Subic is different. Subic was patterned after Hong Kong. When Senator Gordon thought about this, he initially called it ARGO, Autonomous Region of Greater Olongapo, under the theory that one day, when the Americans leave, we can convert this into a free port. And he came out with this written plan in 1980. He presented it to then President Marcos, who told him, And then Defense Secretary Enrile, who told him the same thing. Iho, that's a great plan, but the Americans won't leave. And when they eventually did, Senator Gordon was the only one with the plan. And President Ramos supported him in it. That's the beauty of it. We had the leadership supporting the plan. Imagine if the president of the country then didn't back it up. Then it probably wouldn't have taken off. No? And then they had that vision to really make it an investment hub. No? So the Freeport concept, again, that was the first one conceived by Senator Gordon, patterned after Hong Kong, Singapore, and other free ports of the world. No? And then the rest is history. Then you have Clark, which Senator Gordon also had included in the law, but which really became a free port later on. And then you had Zamboanga and Cagayan of Senator Enrile. So,
Nag-ano na, no? Nag-ripple.
nag-ripple effect na.
So yeah, pioneer of sorts, ano?
Yes.
But it wasn't really that. It wasn't a bed of roses, INKY, was it?
No.
I mean, you had some entrenched interests as well. I mean, tell us, tell us the challenges.
Well, there were always people opposed to Senator Gordon at that time, and even when we put self-imposed limits on duty-free
Purchases.
items that can be purchased. And why did we do this? It's better to allow people to buy some stuff than encourage them to smuggle. If you're going to completely bar it, they'll just smuggle. No? So they would have a $200 purchase limit. And what were they buying? They were buying Chips Ahoy, they were buying potato chips, they were buying, they weren't bringing in cars, they weren't buying cars. So, and again, the president, FVR, at that time supported us on this. So
Then again, also people who were just close to the idea of a free port, the idea and the principle of a free port.
yeah, these are the many local businessmen, retailers who did not want it because they were afraid, it will have an impact on their sales. And I don't think it really had that much of an impact. It was just a small place, right? And, we wanted the Philippines to kind of develop like Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a free port. The entire Hong Kong is a free port. It's a small place. Subic is also a small place. And we wanted Filipinos to have a weekend respite from the, the burdens and the cumbersome life that they had in Manila, to be able to go out of town, a place different from Tagaytay, a place not as far as Baguio, where they can go swimming, they can go shopping, they can relax. Subic has a beach, they can go horseback riding, they can go trekking in the forest. We had many attractions in the forest. It was a perfect place for Filipinos to go to and enjoy themselves.
And at that time, it was what? Just about 2.5, 3 hours away. Not
Exactly.
that far off.
Exactly. It was so near Metro Manila, so easy to drive to and go home from. So, I mean, it was perfect.
Well, that's the recreational side, but on the economic, industrial side, it also opened up actually the economic potential of the area. You saw light industrial and heavy industrial enterprises locating.
Well, mostly light, because we were afraid that heavy industry might create pollution. And Senator Gordon at that time, supported by FVR, wanted to preserve the forest. So and also keep the waters clean, because that's where beachgoers would go to. So mostly light to not even semi-heavy, a little maybe heavier than the traditional light, but still we kept it on the light side. Electronics, correct.
Clothing,
Rubber shoes. There was became a transshipment point.
Became a hub. No?
Became a hub, exactly.
Well, tell me about that. Tell me that winning moment. Tell me the FedEx story.
Oh my God, that was amazing. And I was never more proud to be a Filipino. And we were graced by President Ramos. We were graced by Fred Smith, the chairman and CEO of FedEx. We had that plane land there, and you could see the faces of President Ramos and Senator Gordon light up. I mean, they were like kids that who saw their first toy, you know. And this was not without difficulty because, you know, we had to go to the States and convince FedEx, and then we were dealing with their executives who were trying to bully us. You know, one of their executives was like a 6'6" guy, and Ferdy Ristorenas was like 5 foot, 5 feet, and that was our team, you know. And but we managed to convince FedEx through the efforts of Senator Gordon, and of course the encouragement of President FVR, no, who was supporting us all the way.
You had two
to
very
come
good
in.
salesmen there.
Exactly, exactly. President Ramos was always going like that.
And yet, people did not quite see the challenge as well posed by our own ASEAN neighbors.
Well,
I mean, they were competing for the business as well, right?
you're exactly correct, Toby. Actually, you know, we did not expect FedEx to stay for the long haul, because, you know, the main hub, which could really give them advantages in terms of accessibility to all Asian nations, was really China. They were really eyeing China, but for the 7 years that they needed to, you know, plant roots in Asia,
Yeah,
Subic provided them that.
that was
Yes,
Subic, was it?
Subic was their initial foray into Asia, and they were quite honest with us also that they were eyeing China as a permanent hub. So, alam nga naman, you know, I mean, if we don't take that opportunity, at least 7 years to have their presence here and establish Subic as a major hub, if we didn't take advantage of that, we would have been fools. So, and we were establishing Subic precisely as a destination for, you know, all these big companies. So it served its purpose while it was there.
And yet, can you imagine a few years before that first MD 40, I think, that landed there for FedEx, just a few years before that, those were military planes that were landing.
That's
on
right.
QB.
That's right. All of a sudden, a 747 landed. A FedEx plane. Wow, that was something. And also a PAL plane landed. And we had Westinghouse radar, Alcatel, you know, instrument landing systems. So it was amazing. It was like, wow, welcome to the modern world, Philippines.
And that really was the opportunity there, no? The entire Subic area was a tool just waiting to be used.
Yes.
The infrastructure was there. It needed upgrading a bit, but really it was all present, and you know, it was just really selling the idea to.
Yeah, that was the point. That was the whole point of it. Why waste an $8 billion asset when you can use it for the benefit of the country? Why allow people to come in and steal it?
When you talk about Subic, actually during the FDR period, it was always on an up and up and up thing. I mean, you know, FDR was totally behind it and wanted to use it as, you know, showcase it as it was. But you guys also had to, you guys also had to run along the same pace as FBR.
Yeah.
He was pretty impatient about getting things done fast.
I was so impressed with FVR. I traveled with him twice to the United States, and both times I saw that guy doesn't rest. I mean, he's up at 4 o'clock, and he's already reading, you know, stacks of documents, making his notations in his traditional red marker, and then putting it one stack of documents in a box in another stack which he's already reviewed. And then he goes about his daily chores. In fact, when we went to the States in 1995 on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the United Nations, I heard that the Secret Service were complaining that FVR, because he was so hardworking, would sleep late and would wake up early. They hardly had any sleep, the Secret Service. So they had the hardest head of state that they had to protect was FVR because of his, you know, his military style, his way, his work ethic, the way he worked. I mean, he was like a machine. As military regiments, FVR. He would wake up a little later, but you know, the same. I mean, they would work until they were tired and everybody else around them was tired. I mean, really tired. So it was quite a refreshing thing to see. I came from that atmosphere, having worked in Accra, and you know, when you work in Accra and you're an associate, they work you to the bone, and I was used to it. I mean, I like that work ethic, and I also like the way FVR like to play. So when he goes to Subic, we play golf with him. You know, and
Okay, tell me about those golf games. I've heard stories about the golf games as well, Inky. They weren't really just purely recreational. He was doing a lot of work
Oh
during
yes,
those
actually,
in between holes as well,
he
right?
would interview us on the status of projects. He would follow up what's happening with this, what's happening with that. What are you doing about this? It wasn't just rest and recreation. As I said, FVR hardly rests. The guy is always on the go. I guess that's why him and Senator Gordon got along. Pareho sila eh.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Their work ethic, their adrenaline is, wow.
Did you ever get
amazing.
to play with him again?
Yeah, twice.
Oh, okay.
This time, the second time was funny also. They were playing, and then along the road, there was a family of tourists. They saw him. So they went down. They said, sir, picture naman tayo. And President Ramos said, sure. Sir, punta kayo dito. Sabi ni FVR, kayo kaya lumapit ako. Without saying, syempre siya yung presidente, no? Dapat lumapit yung pamilya.
Oo nga naman.
So that was funny also. And then, there was a cardiac hill, no? To get to that hole, there was usually a winch which would help the golfers climb, no?
Okay.
Armin and I were really trying to catch our breath. We were having a hard time going uphill. FVR did it with ease. And then when we got there,
And he was how old?
he was probably
your
70s, yeah. And then when he got there, before that, Senator Gordon said, sir, Inky and Armin are calling you Lolo because I'm their father, you're the Lolo. And then when we got on up the hill, and Armin and I were trying to catch our breath, FBR said, who's the Lolo between us?
He was very fit.
Oh, he was very fit.
Oh.
It was actually I was inspired by his becoming fit that I decided to lose weight myself. It took a couple of years for me to achieve that, but after looking at him, I said I have to get back into shape. At that time, I was like what 33, 34, pero hirap na hirap ako. I was big.
It's quite a team you had there. No? What were the strategies? I mean, pitching Subic Freeport as the business location in the Philippines.
Well, the main strategy was we are a hub, we are a transshipment port. We did not have as much land as the other surrounding provinces. So what Senator Gordon was trying to do was establish a hub there, which would be a major shipping port, so that other provinces, like the surrounding provinces, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Zambales, Pampanga, could now attract heavy industry and ship in and ship out through Subic. And it was also a tourism respite for, as I said, neighboring towns and Metro Manila.
Yeah, right.
So that was really the strategy, making it a hub of Asia.
You can't talk about Subic without mentioning APEC.
Oh, yes.
1996, and that was supposed to be people have also called APEC 96 as the Philippines coming out party,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
Why was it important for FBR to pick Subic of all other places? I mean, Cebu was there, Davao was there, Metro Manila, of course, was the natural shoe-in. I mean, the PICC and all, some other conference venues in Manila. I mean, why make it two-location summit?
Well, I think it was Senator Gordon who pitched it to FVR. It was really about showing the whole world that the Philippines was re-emerging. as a potential dragon in Asia. That in spite of all the setbacks suffered by Pinatubo in the departure of the bases, the Filipinos were a resilient lot, and using whatever talents and assets we had, we could rise from where we were, like a phoenix, and reinvent ourselves, reemerge as a major player in Asia. I think that was the message that we wanted to send the rest of the world leaders. No, we are not the sick man of Asia, as many accuse us to be, or try to put us in a very derisive situation. No, we were an emerging economy.
Well, we may have been a sick economy, but that certainly wasn't how you would describe the Philippines during FVR's period.
Exactly. I was very proud to be a Filipino during FVR's time. I mean, he was next to maybe the second greatest president we ever had in terms of building and promoting and the Philippines and making me proud. And one of the times I remember I was so proud of him was when Team Philippines had a final dinner abroad in one of our promos. I was already with the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority. But Team Philippines, businesswomen and government officials.
Delegation. Ano?
It was a dinner hosted for him. I forgot who hosted it. I don't know if it was Congressman Martin Romualdez or it was in New York. And there are other guests, and I was so proud of FVR. Wow, he is a statesman. I said, this guy is the kind of leader that all presidents should be. A statesman. He can be proud of his accomplishments. He's proud of his country. He's not too stiff that he won't joke with us. In fact, during one of the trips to the States, we rode on his plane, a chartered PAL flight, and he would go to the back where we were. We'd put all the economy seats, the handles, the armrests.
Yeah.
We'd put them down and we'd sleep across the.
You'd stretch.
We'd stretch, yeah. And he would visit us there. He would joke with us. He would, treat us as not just his government employees. Treat us as friends.
That wasn't the official FVR,
No, that wasn't. I saw the lighter side of FVR, and he's just an ordinary human being who wanted to do good for his country. And for me, that's quite impressive. And he did us proud during his time.
Okay, well, tell me more about those foreign trips. I mean, I hear, many of the businessmen that we interviewed said that it was no joyride at all.
Yeah, because it was chock full of meetings. I mean, you go on those
and
foreign
he
trips.
saw to it that everyone
Correct.
had something to do.
Correct. You go on those foreign trips, it's not a vacation. If you want a vacation, you have to, make sure it happens after the trip. Because when he's there, everything is business. You meet investors, you attend the functions where he's at, official functions. It was that hectic.
And is it true he would network actually? He'd sit people together specifically for get it done. I mean,
what the beauty of that is that's a good signal to the investor that the president of the Philippines is backing up your project. He would do that. He would even sit in the meetings, with top people. I wasn't present when I think he was there when Dick met with Fred Smith. I wasn't there because it was really exclusive for all these top people, which is okay because nakalakwatsa kami ng konti ni Armin in New York City.
okay.
But he would do that. And so it was all business, no pleasure.
And he would ask for reports.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
from
another
those
thing.
Meetings. Tell me about that.
All the travel reports, Senator Gordon would instruct us, they must be detailed. So we would come up and we would, this is how I learned how to use a computer, pictures with captions, with reports, which really show. Kasi we would, of course, government is funding our trips. So we have to show that we were using government money judiciously, diba? And in a way that would benefit the government. So our reports would be very complete, no? With pictures and reports and captions and everything. So we would show our entire itinerary. We did not waste time when we went abroad.
Ganun ka stricto si FBR?
Ganun ka strict to si FVR. The only time we would probably get respite would be after dinner. Then we would meet friends. You know, I mean, syempre, if you're abroad, you call up your friends, your fraternity brothers, your whatever, relatives, then you'd meet them, or on weekends. That's the only time.
Pero yun lang talaga. No? It was all work, work, work.
Work, work, work. Exactly.
But apparently, you caught his eye because how long were you at Subic, Inky?
I was Subic from 1992 to 1996, December. Four years.
And then he
appointed
he
me.
sent you off to
Cagayan. Well,
CEZA.
yes, because Senator Enrile asked if he could get me to head CEZA. So, you know, Senator Enrile and FVR, they go way back, as you know. And he kindly obliged Senator Enrile's request. So I was appointed as the administrator and CEO of the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority. In 1997, I started in January 1997.
Right. And then stayed on up to about
2001.
Ano?
Yes.
Oh. Well, he wouldn't have appointed you if you weren't up to it.
Well, I'd like to think I was qualified, but you know, of course, a lot had to do with Senator Enrile's request.
I asked you about FedEx, but that wasn't just that may have been icing on the cake, but really, who else was on?
Well, we got
Yeah.
the
Taiwanese, Malaysian.
we got the Taiwanese group backed up by the Taiwan government to set up an industrial park over 100 hectares. The Japanese. We also had the group that you know, partly owned Genting come in.
Oh,
And then the Legenda group. We had the Yacht Club. We had Enron at the time. Enron was not yet in a shambles. No? They were still okay. It was a large power group. We had Coastal Petroleum. No? So we had heavy hitters from the United States and Taiwan, Japan. They were all coming in, and that was really amazing. So I mean, I was just young and at that time, and I came from a law practice. I was a young lawyer. So imagine all these big companies coming in and us dealing with them, meeting the CEOs, sitting down, having dinner with them, you know.
It's a tough job. I mean,
It's a tough job.
Somebody's got to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So those are the things that happened.
I mean, they were difficult, they were challenging, but as you've just related, they were also very fulfilling.
They were fulfilling because we did something positive for the country. Whenever you do something positive for the country, you know, you always get this sense of fulfillment. You always get this sense of accomplishment. It's not really a feather in your cap. I mean, yeah, it could be, but for me, I was just looking at it as, wow, I was able to contribute as a taxpayer and as someone who benefited from taxpayers, because I studied in the University of the Philippines with you. We were classmates, and I said, well, at least somehow I was able to repay my tuition.
Give back.
Give back, yeah. So I had fun. I mean, it was good. Do I ever want to join government again? Parang ayoko na. Pero masaya na ako sa private sector. But, you know, if that's where the Lord puts me, who am I to complain?
Tell me your impressions of the man as public servant.
FVR is the consummate public servant, I would say. I mean, all his life he's really given to the Philippines as a military man, and then later on as president of the country, was also Secretary of Defense during the time of Cory. So I think that he's really a product of the public system. He also studied in a public school, right? And I think his heart has always been to serve. It's not easy being a soldier. First of all, you're not paid well, and you risk your life.
Spartan.
Exactly, and he risked his life several times for the country. And so I think that nothing can be said about his dedication and his devotion and his commitment except well done. For me, I would like to see more and more ex-military men step up as he did.
Going the same way.
Going the same way, not necessarily as president, but giving their lives to the country as FVR has done.
You were in public service for what? Just under a decade, maybe?
Yeah, around 9.5 years.
9.5 years. Okay. How have you kept in touch with FBR over the years?
Well, praise God for people like Megafood who calls me on occasion. I attend his book launchings when I can. I missed the latest one because I had a conflict of schedule. Something came up, my client. But, the last time I was here a few years ago, he even made me do push-ups. So
I was going to ask you, what are those meetings like when you do bump into each other?
It's fun. He likes to joke around. He always makes me kumusta. One time when he was no longer president, we bumped into Boracay. When we were guests of Toti Carino, Phil Estate, no? They had a golf tournament there in celebration of Toti Carino's birthday, and we were playing golf. And then he asked me, "Oh, how's Subic? How's Cagayan?" And that's how he is. He never forgets. And then he would always joke me.
Kid you about your stint in government?
Yeah, you could kid me about my father. He would always say, "Your father is much better than you."
This whole relationship started out with you hearing stories about the man from your dad. And you had the opportunity of working for him for 5, 6 years. What does that feel like?
It was like I never imagined I would end up where I was at that time. I mean, I was looking at him from a distance. He was like iconic in a way because of what he did in the EDSA revolution. So was Enrile. I ended up working for both of them. And it was a lot had to do because of Dick Gordon. He was the one who really brought me into all of this, connected me, and I was just thrilled to have had the chance to work with him, because not everybody was given that opportunity, and I was equally proud to be part of his team, because his team truly made a mark in the Philippine economy and in the reputation of the Philippines globally. So that was a high time for the Philippines. That was a proud moment for the country, his presidency.
Okay. It's nearly 30, 25 years past. What do you want people to remember of his stint as a public servant, as president?
Well, I would like people to remember what he did in solving the power crisis, what he did in bringing investments, making Subic known, Clark known, even Metro Manila, what he did in really invigorating the ASEAN, the role of the Philippines in ASEAN, and strengthening ties with ASEAN. And also how he was able to manage the relationship with China and the United States without really openly siding with either of them. The stability that he brought in during that time. I want people to know that, to remember him as a consummate statesman, one who was a true leader, and one who we can all emulate in terms of leadership.
Is that the FBR legacy?
That's the FVR legacy that I think he left behind.
Is there a special memory you have of him? I mean, when you think of him, ito lagi. You've shared a few vignettes.
Yeah. Well, one time nung pinagalitan niya kami, in Malacanang.
All right.
But I'd sooner rather bury that memory. Well, when we play golf, I saw him as a friend more than a boss.
Okay.
And he treated us like friends more than a boss. There was always still that, he's the president of the republic.
Yeah, yeah.
And we held him, as that, on that level. But there were times that he'd really show his personal side. And that showed me that this guy is a wonderful human being.
You worked with him for 5, 6 years.
Until 1998. Yeah.
Looking back at that, would you have done it? Would you do it all over again?
Absolutely. I would do it again. I truly enjoy his leadership style. I mean, there were many other issues that we didn't agree on. Of course, he was acting as president of the republic and he had to balance out other interests. But on the whole, I think that he did a great job as president.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome, Toby.